Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for all of you. I wanted to do something before all the football games started on this Thursday, of course, ahead of the 49ers trip to Cleveland. If you've been watching any of the news, because I think travel is put into a bigger spotlight, the area where the 49ers are going to play the Browns, that Great Lakes area, is under a severe weather advisory, which means that there is snow in the forecast for Brock Purdy against Shedeur Sanders on Sunday. Here you can see, do you see this down here? Lake effect snow warning. That means that Lake Erie, which is right there adjacent to Cleveland. I mean, the stadium is literally on the water. It's on the lake. It's a very, very tough place to kick and throw for that reason because there's so much wind coming off that lake. Well, now there's going to be snow coming off the lake, and the lake effect snow warning remains in effect until Friday evening in Cleveland. Of course, the game isn't until Sunday, but as you can see here, the weather is not going to leave just magically. You might have this storm end, but probably another one is going to hit on Sunday. It won't be as big as the current one. I would say some light snow showers might happen during the 49ers game against the Cleveland Browns. So it could be photogenic, but remember that could also be problematic. Last year, this weekend, the game after Thanksgiving, it was Sunday Night Football. The 49ers played in an absolute blizzard against the Buffalo Bills. This year, the schedule is more favorable to the 49ers. Last year, they had to go to Green Bay, back home to the Bay Area for Thanksgiving, and then back across the country to Buffalo. They lost both of those games. Brock Purdy missed the first one, the one against the Green Bay Packers with what I believe was a shoulder issue, if I could remember correctly. And then he came back against the Bills, and it was a total whiteout. The good news for the 49ers is that Josh Allen is not going to be on the other side this time. It's Shedeur Sanders, a much more beatable quarterback. The bad news for the 49ers is that Myles Garrett will be on the other side. So any type of adverse weather conditions, plus the fact that you're playing the best defensive lineman in all of football and probably the best defensive line in all of football in the Cleveland Browns, well, that sets up for a grind of a game on Sunday for the 49ers. To help visualize where the Browns are and where the 49ers are, I will show you the team tier chart. The team tier chart is, I think, our best way of looking at offensive and defensive strength visually. We can keep everything in perspective. I have the arrows out for the 49ers because I think those are useful to help visualize their trajectory or potential trajectories now that they're starting to get guys back from injury. We saw an orange trajectory kind of game on Monday Night Football against the Panthers because the improvement of the defense. You're looking for the Browns? Well, the Browns are way over here. I mean, it's almost comical for Cleveland how far in the upper left they are. That means terrible offense, which is why Shedeur Sanders is now the quarterback, but really good defense. And with Mac Jones and the 49ers offense was stonewalled by the Houston Texans. They could do hardly nothing against the Houston Texans in week 8 of this season. That's the best defense in football. Against the Rams, the 49ers, that's one of the best defenses in football. The 49ers actually were productive in both games. Even the loss, they scored 4 touchdowns. Now, that again was with Mac Jones as quarterback. The Seattle Seahawks are one of the best defenses in football. That was with Brock Purdy as QB in week 1, and the 49ers were productive. They won the football game. They haven't faced the Denver Broncos. They did in the training camp and the joint practice with the Broncos. The Broncos had their way over the first couple drives against the 49ers first-team offense, but then the first-team offense moved the ball later on. So that obviously was Purdy, and that was a healthy Purdy back in training camp. So the 49ers did show a good sign of life against one of the top defenses in football. Now, the one that they haven't faced at all in this 2025 season, the Cleveland Browns await, and Cleveland has given the 49ers trouble in the past. 2023 is when the 49ers visited Cleveland, and this might be the first time ever that I put Google Maps up on the screen because we're going to check out the geography of Cleveland, Ohio. So here we go. Look, I've got a bunch of places in Cleveland bookmarked, and it's even trying to sell me hotels in Cleveland, although I've already booked my hotel. Some of the best food in Cleveland on the NFL circuit. It's an underrated food city. But what I wanted to show you guys was the big lake. You guys see Lake Erie right there? So Lake Erie is going to bring that lake effect wind, lake effect snow in on Cleveland here over the next few days, maybe even during the game. And I'm going to zoom in on this and show you guys exactly where the stadium is. Maybe we can go to satellite view. So this is, how do you go to satellite view on there? Here you go. Satellite view. All right. Now we're going to see Huntington Bank Field next to the old Cleveland Stadium. Nice stadium. I enjoyed it when we were there. Our press box is on this side of the field, but as you can tell, it is right on the water. I believe that they discarded of the old Cleveland Stadium some of the, you know, ironwork and just concrete from the old stadium. I think it's actually in the water here in Lake Erie, and it's created kind of a coral reef situation. We probably won't have a lot of visibility on Sunday, but if it were a sunny day, you can actually see all the way across to Detroit from Cleveland. You could see Detroit, Michigan over here. As you could tell, by the way, the crow flies not all that far across Lake Erie, but I'm not expecting to have clear skies. Last year at this time, 49ers were in Buffalo, which is right here. It's also on the tip of Lake Erie, so it was also lake effect weather for the 49ers. Not far, again, from Cleveland, Buffalo, but that's, just how the luck of the draw has gone for 2 straight seasons for San Francisco. They've been on the shores of Lake Erie following Thanksgiving, and there has been weather both years. So we'll see how San Francisco handles it. Now, they're still favored in this game. They're favored in this game by, 5 points, I think, last time I checked. Let's go and see where San Francisco's at. And Shedeur Sanders, for as much hype as his start got, it was against the Raiders. The Raiders fired Chip Kelly, their offensive coordinator, after that game. And, there seems to be a lot of celebration about one swing pass that turned into a touchdown. He made a couple nice throws. Nobody is denying that, but it wasn't a world-beating performance. And facing a 49ers defense that is surging, I'll say that. After they played the Carolina Panthers on Monday, it's going to be a whole different test than playing the Raiders. Robert Saleh is also going to see the tape of Shedeur Sanders in that first game, or the first start against the Raiders, and he's going to make his adjustments and his applications to the 49ers defense to combat that tape. And this could be a rude awakening for the rookie quarterback out of Colorado. However, it is a cool story because Kyle Shanahan, massive fan of Shedeur Sanders' dad, Deion Sanders. Kyle talked about the jersey, the 94 49ers Deion jersey that he wore for 6 months straight before it got stolen, by the way, in 1994. Kyle still doesn't know who stole it. He's still looking for his Deion Sanders 21 jersey back from that 94 season. But you'll remember that Kyle was, 15 years old at the time? I think he was born in 79. Kyle was born the same year that Bill Walsh took over as the 49ers head coach in 1979. So he's 15 in 94, the last time the 49ers won the Super Bowl. His dad, Mike Shanahan, was the 49ers offensive coordinator. San Francisco signed Deion Sanders. He was also playing baseball for the San Francisco Giants, which was cool. But they signed Deion in 94 to arm themselves for that Super Bowl run. He did not go to training camp because he didn't join the team until, I think, week 3 of that season. So the 49ers played Kansas City in week 2 of 1994. And guess whose Kansas City quarterback was? Joe Montana. So Steve Young against Joe Montana. Imagine social media back then. It didn't exist in 94. But Montana Young, week 2. The Chiefs actually beat the 49ers. And then week 3, Deion joined San Francisco. And he had a big year. He was one of the pieces that completed that football team. They had just a massive amount of talent. The Cowboys also did that year, though, and the NFC Championship game between San Francisco and Dallas was the most star-studded game in NFL history. Kyle Shanahan grew up on that kind of stuff. His dad was one of the coaches for the 49ers. So cool to just go back and relive the memories for the 49ers the last time they won a Super Bowl. which was now over 30 years ago. 2025 is where we're at right now. 1995, January 29th, 1995 is when the 49ers beat the San Diego Chargers after beating the Cowboys. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving, 49ers Browns. We've got quite a bit to talk about. I've got some questions to answer. I wanted to make this a little bit more of a freewheeling show. We're going to take you all the way up to kickoff. Well, probably not all the way up to kickoff. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to breathe in between the end of this show and kickoff between the Packers and the Lions. So this is one of the better Thanksgiving slates that we've had in quite some time. The Packers 7-3-1 against the Lions, who are 7-4. Detroit 3-point favorites at home. That game is going to start at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Then this is really intriguing to me. Chiefs and Cowboys. That is in Arlington in Texas. Kansas City beat the Indianapolis Colts. Comeback win last week for Kansas City. So they're 6-5. Don't look now, but Dallas is 5-5-1. And I want to go back to this and look at some of the team strength. So the first game, by the way, Packers, Lions, those are two teams in the second tier of football in that playoff tier. So that's going to be really, really good stuff. They're right next to each other. I love that matchup. But look, Kansas City, they've actually been outperforming their record this year, which is the opposite of last year when they were overperforming relative to the efficiency marks. But Kansas City's got a good offense, above average defense. Dallas is fascinating because the defense has been terrible on the aggregate, but they did trade for Quinnen Williams. They did look a lot better over their past two games with Williams against the Raiders. And I know that doesn't mean anything, but they did look a lot better against the Philadelphia Eagles. You wonder if the Cowboys might be on a similar trajectory as the 49ers showed that they might be on against the Panthers, and that is moving the defense or moving the logo up because of defensive improvement. And if that is indeed the case, if Dallas is somewhere like up here defensively, I know the offense is probably, unchanged. Maybe the offense gets a little bit better with some more defensive support. So say that Dallas is up here, they could be comparable to the 49ers as far as strength, and they play the Kansas City Chiefs today, who have underperformed relative to the efficiency this year. That's why they're 6-5. I think that could be a really, really good Thanksgiving game. Then the nightcap is the Ravens, who are surging. The Ravens are 6-5 now. They're right here in the middle, but I think we'll be headed to the playoffs based on the trajectory of the team against the Bengals. It's a divisional matchup, but the Bengals have one of the worst defenses in NFL history. We see them here at the very bottom of the chart. So the Ravens are favored by 7.5. Kansas City, by the way, favored by 3.5 against Dallas. So who do you have in these games? If something crazy happens, we'll do a step outside from all the eating that we're going to be doing out at the farm, and I'll have a quick update video, but wanted to make sure that we set the table for everything entering these games. Mike sent me something. I'm going to take a look. It's some tape, so I can't play it on the screen. But Mike sent me the J.C. Horn interception. So it was Purdy's third interception against the Panthers. You know what? That J.C. Horn interception reminded me a little bit of Jair Alexander. Do you guys remember the 2021 game where the 49ers lost to the Packers on Sunday Night Football? It was a great game, though. Aaron Rodgers led the Packers downfield with like 23 seconds left, maybe 26 seconds for a game-winning field goal. I think it was Mason Crosby that hit it. But Jimmy Garoppolo led the 49ers all the way back against Green Bay after Green Bay took an early lead against San Francisco in that Sunday night game. One of the Packers' plays was an interception that Garoppolo looked like he had thrown a good ball. I believe that he was going for, was it George Kittle that he was going for over the middle? He threw a nice deep ball, 40 yards, 45 yards in the air, right toward the logo. 49ers were backed up fairly far in their own territory, and it looked like it was going to be dropped in the bucket there, but Jair Alexander came from his cornerback position just absolutely freelancing, running a good 30 yards and intercepted the pass. I mean, that was prime Jair Alexander. What J.C. Horn did for the Carolina Panthers on that third Purdy interception Monday night reminded me of that, because he was playing on the opposite side of the field. He didn't have anybody to cover, so he decided to just freelance, and he crossed the field full strides And because Purdy was a hitch late on his throw, he was just a little hesitant getting that ball out to Ricky Pearsall. J.C. Horn had enough time to finish his, 35-yard sprint. Remember, a football field is over 53 yards wide. So when you're able to cover that kind of ground, east and west, you are moving fast. You got to tip your cap to J.C. Horn on that interception. All right, we're going to look at the NFL playoff picture. We're going to go right to the NFL's website. They do a good job. They've got the Super Bowl logo from what's going on in the Bay Area. For whatever reason, the playoff picture is not loading on the NFL's website. Well, that's great. That does not help us right now. Yeah, it looks like it's down right now. They say no playoff picture data ready just yet. So what we can do is go here. I have a backup plan. I always do, especially when I'm live. You've got to have a backup plan in your head. Otherwise, you are going to be left out to dry. All right, so we can go by conference right here. Let's open this up for you. This is the AFC. I don't really care about the AFC as much as I do about the NFC right now. So we'll scroll down to the NFC. So the teams that are shaded in blue are projected to make the postseason if this season ended today. The Rams would be the 1 seed. They're the only 2-loss team in all of football. The Eagles are also playing decent football, although they just got beaten by the Cowboys, so they're knocked out of the 2-loss contention. They're the number 2 seed. Had Dallas not managed to beat Philadelphia, it'd be flip-flop. The Rams would not be the number 1 seed because remember, Philadelphia beat LA in the head-to-head with that blocked kick taken back for a touchdown at the final buzzer. The big surprise in the top 7 to me is Chicago. They're 8-3. Their strength of victory, though, is terrible. The combined winning percentage of teams that the Bears have beaten is 309. So that's one where you're looking for a little bit of a regression from the Bears. The 49ers play them in just about a month on December 28th. That's going to be Sunday Night Football at Levi's Stadium, and that might be one of the biggest NFC games of the year. But Ben Johnson has at least executed the initial stages of a turnaround in Chicago. They're in first place in the NFC North. I think that they're obviously dangerous. If you're 8-3, you're dangerous, but there is a caveat there. The strength of schedule has not been good. If I click this, we can see who the Bears have played so far. They are on an absolute roll. They began this season 0-2. Then they beat Dallas. They beat the Raiders. They beat Dallas back when Dallas wasn't playing any defense whatsoever. They squeaked by the Commanders. They beat the Saints. They lost to the resurgent Ravens, but beat the Bengals, beat the New York Giants, beat the Vikings, and beat the Steelers. As you can tell, there is no truly marquee win over a top-level team for the Chicago Bears. That being said, any win is a win in the NFL, and they still are 8-3. So good for Chicago. We're going to keep a close eye on them. All right, back to the NFC playoff picture. Tampa Bay is at that 4th spot. Now, Tampa Bay has hit some rougher times since fans were chanting MVP for Baker Mayfield back in week 6 when the 49ers lost to the Bucs. Baker now has a shoulder injury, although it doesn't look all too serious, but they just got waxed by the Rams. I think Tampa Bay is generally a team that's trended downward over the course of this season. They did win in Seattle, though, and that is worth a whole heck of a lot. Seattle's been one of the best teams in all of football this year. Seattle is currently at that number 5 spot. The 4 division winners are the top 4 seeds, and then it's the top 3 records outside of that. So that's why Tampa Bay at 6-5 is currently seated ahead of Seattle. So the next 3 best records are the Seahawks. 49ers have a win over them. They play them again in the final week of the regular season. The Packers, who are ahead of San Francisco, even though they have fewer wins because they're one tie, that was against the Cowboys, and the 49ers, who are 8-4. If San Francisco can win the next 2, and they're favored in the next 2 over the Cleveland Browns, and I know I'd tell you guys the spread, it's San Francisco -5. So if they could beat the Browns and then turn around and beat the Tennessee Titans, who obviously are not good, the 49ers will be 10-4, And then you have to wonder, okay, what's going to happen in front of San Francisco here in the wild card picture as far as potential losses for the Seattle Seahawks? Let's see who they play. Seahawks are playing Minnesota and Atlanta, so they're going to be favored in both games, but a possible loss. Then Seattle plays the Colts ahead of the 49ers. And Indianapolis, if we want to go back to the team tier chart, has the best offense in all of football. So on December 14th and December 22nd, the 49ers or the Seahawks and the 49ers respectively are going to play the Colts. And that AFC South team can do some serious damage to the NFC West. It can shake up the NFC West's playoff race. The Rams have already beaten the Colts, so that's big. Why don't we, take a look at the rest of the Rams schedule, by the way. Let's see where the Rams are, because the 49ers can also still make a move in the division. It's going to be tough, though, because I don't know if the Rams are going to lose all too many more games. It's lining up for them to win this ever since they beat the Seattle Seahawks. And they're going to have to be upset in the playoffs if that ends up being the case. For the Rams, they've got Carolina next. I would expect them to win that. They're at Arizona. I would expect them to win that. They're at home against Detroit. I mean, I would expect the Rams to win out the rest of the way. But whenever you say that, you say that in the aggregate, but upsets happen in the NFL. Probably the best chances for the Rams to lose would be at Seattle on December 18th or versus the Lions on December 14th. And who knows, maybe there's a wild card loss in there as well. But I think the worst record you can reasonably expect from the Rams this year would be 13-4. And if the Rams are 13-4, the 49ers would have to win out to have a chance to win the NFC West. That is not likely for San Francisco. That's why we're looking at a wild card being the most likely for the 49ers. I expect them to win the next two. It's going to be tough in Cleveland, and we're going to talk more about that, but it's going to be hard this weekend, but they are favored. I expect them to beat the Titans. And then it turns into that final 3-game stretch of the season where they play the Indianapolis Colts, the Chicago Bears, and the Seattle Seahawks. And in all likelihood, the 49ers will only be favored in one of those games against the Bears. And even that is a little bit iffy, with the Bears winning a lot of football games as we speak. The pathway to victory, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to create a juxtaposition here. The December 22nd game may be the most challenging for the 49ers moving forward against the Colts. The pathway to victory that I see there is a shootout in the 30s in a dome right ahead of Christmas against Daniel Jones and the Colts. The game on Sunday that the 49ers are playing is quite the opposite. The one coming this Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it couldn't be more stark, the difference here. Look, they're going to play the Colts in about a month. They're over here on the very right. They're playing the extreme polar opposite, the Browns, on Sunday. So this journey for the 49ers over the last month plus of the season is going to take them into domed stadiums against the top offense in the league, and then into lake effect outdoor snow against one of the top defenses in the league and one of the greatest defensive players we've ever seen in Myles Garrett. Every week brings a unique challenge in the NFL. That is the takeaway here. And the 49ers are going to have to roll up their sleeves and adapt as every subsequent challenge comes to the table. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Let's take a look at some of the super chats. I appreciate this from John. I'm always, I thought you said giving thanks for the context, but you say giving thanks for the content. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you to you, John. This is Happy Turkey Day to Mr. and Mrs. Lombardi. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate you. And thank you, Arnell, for the Thanksgiving wishes. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. I know that today should be a good day of football, but make sure that it is a good day of family on top of that, because there obviously is going to be a lot going on TV, but make sure that you talk to all your family and whichever friends might be at Thanksgiving as well. We're going to be celebrating it out here in Tennessee, and then it's going to be off to Cleveland. It's sunny out here. The weather is in a much better spot than it's going to be when we reach the shores of Lake Erie this weekend. Appreciate this as well. Thank you, sir. I'm trying to be real with my audience. I appreciate the thanks. Yesterday, I was very real with people. This, in case you missed it, was what we went through yesterday. Brock Purdy threw 40 career starts. How many interceptions has he thrown? 34. That is the same exact amount as Tom Brady had through 40 career starts, despite not being nearly as aggressive as Brock Purdy downfield. It is fewer than Joe Montana, who had 37. Kurt Warner, 47 picks through his first 40 NFL starts. Peyton Manning, 51. The one outlier on the low end here is Patrick Mahomes, had only 19 through his first 40 career starts. But Drew Brees at 37, that's more than Purdy. Steve Young at 35, more than Purdy. Justin Herbert, a little less. 30 picks for Justin Herbert. Matthew Stafford, 47 for Matthew Stafford. Now, Mike asked me the other day, he's like, well, isn't that because Stafford was losing a lot of games? I'm like, well, was he losing a lot of games because he was throwing interceptions? Or was he throwing interceptions because he was losing a lot of games? Chicken and egg, right? I think both can be true at once. I think that when you look at picks, and that's why when you look at raw interception numbers, they obviously come without context, but in this case, they are the context, because what I'm trying to illustrate is that Brock Purdy is not the only quarterback in NFL history who has thrown picks. I think people need to wrap around their brains that even the best guys in NFL history have thrown interceptions. In this case, more than Purdy through 40 career starts. But the chicken and egg dynamic of interceptions is so important to take into account because, for example, in 2024, Brock Purdy was playing from behind for much of the season because the 49ers didn't have a run defense. And that obviously is going to put you in situations where interceptions are more likely. Despite that, Purdy's interception rate increased from only 2.5% in 2023, when the 49ers were ahead virtually all the time, to only 2.6% in 2024, which would actually suggest that he was delivering better care of the football relative to the game situation in 2024 than he was in 2023. But that's something that the common media and the casual fan will never tell you, because all they do is look at a raw number, and all they do is look at the score and then fill in the blanks based on that instead of actually analyzing a quarterback's play. So, yeah, of course you don't want to have a 3 interception half like Brock Purdy had. But the more obvious part of all this is that every single quarterback in NFL history, even the very best guys, some of whom are outlined right here, have thrown interceptions, have thrown a lot of them. Tom Brady had 6 games in his NFL career in which he threw 4 interceptions. 6 times he did what Brock Purdy did against the Baltimore Ravens in 2023 on Christmas Day. Tom Brady threw 4 picks, yet nobody was calling for Tom Brady to be benched. 5 times in his career, Steve Young threw 3 interceptions. And maybe people were calling for Steve to be benched because 49ers fans can be insane. But the point is that we have to stop being prisoners of the moment whenever a negative play or even a positive play happens. We have to look at efficiency in the aggregate. And Brock Purdy still this year, despite playing with turf toe, despite limited time for him, has not hit his full groove yet, is still ranked number 8 in expected points added per play of all NFL quarterbacks. And ever since Brock Purdy joined the league in 2022, he ranks number 1. That is above Allen, above Mahomes. His efficiency, despite whatever interceptions he might have thrown, and those other guys throw them too, has been the most efficient. Those are the facts. The facts don't care about your feelings in this case. And I think that people have gone so far off the reservation emotionally when they see some of these interceptions that they just are not connected to the reality of quarterback play in the NFL, much less the quarterback play that Brock Purdy is delivering San Francisco. So watch the game on Sunday. He might throw more. He's playing a really good defense. Quarterbacks go through tough stretches. What matters for the 49ers is they could find a way to grind out a win. If they don't, well, they're going to be 8-5, and it's going to be a tougher battle through the final month plus of the regular season. If they do, if they hold serve, and they're 9-4 leaving this game, the 49ers are going to be in a very, very good spot entering their bye week. So should be a lot of fun. What else do I have to show you before we get going here on Thanksgiving? Because, yeah, it is time for me to leave. 49ers signed Eric Kendricks. This is big. This is fun. All pro back in 2019. He might be starting sooner rather than later. I would predict after the bye week, get Kendricks in that lineup. He started for the Cowboys last year. Career high 3 forced fumbles, 138 tackles. That was the second highest total in his NFL career. I think he still has some juice in the tank. I think this is the retirement tour for Eric Kendricks. And he could play middle or weak side linebacker, play the Mike or the Will. Color me intrigued. Kendricks to the 49ers practice squad. Now they get to integrate him into the system. Defense trying to take that surge up. Always remember the arrows. Be thankful on this Thanksgiving that the 49ers will be keeping you interested through every single month of this season, right? January, I guess, is still TBD, but they will reach December with a chance. And given the injuries that have happened, that is borderline miraculous. And remember the arrows. They can either follow the red trajectory, that is a fading defense, the blue trajectory, that is a stabilized defense, or there were hints of the orange trajectory. That means a defense that is really, really starting to climb, turning it around, kind of like the Rams did when they went from number 29 to number 5 after November turned to December last year. Robert Saleh might be a magician. And it all, of course, is contingent on Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense taking this to the next level. All right, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for watching. Go enjoy your day. Enjoy some football. I am very appreciative of all of you. We will talk to you very soon.